Be creative, innovative, passionate. Be excellent, inspiring, driven. Be faithful, disciplined, prepared. At Union University, you will thrive in a Christ-centered community and be equipped for success in your life and career. Begin your journey today. At Union University, be transformed.
Students of the world, gather round. It's time for the World Student Podcast with our host, Mark and Darren.
Welcome back to the World Student Podcast. Darren Sutherland, my co-host, Mark Kopinski. Mark, I'm just going to do this rundown. Is that okay with you? And tell everybody where everybody's from.
Absolutely. Let's let the students do the talking today.
Yeah, that's it. Let's start off in Rowan University. I'm mispronouncing it probably, and that's awful for the first school I mentioned, up in New Jersey. Deep, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm good. How are you today?
Doing well. Tell us a little bit about Deep. Tell us where you're from. Tell us about your college and university, your major, and about your high school education or your upper school education.
Yeah, so presently right now I'm in my master's, pursuing my master's under research fellowship, and would be doing my PhD from next semester. Basically after like 20 days, I'll be starting up with my PhD. And I have been with this university since past 2 years. And before that, I belong to India. I graduated in my bachelor's in 2016 from Gujarat. And since that time, like after 1 year of internship, I came over here, flew here, and then have been part of Rowan. And I'm highly active towards the research side with the transportation. And my majors is basically transportation engineering.
Nice. Let's go down to St. Louis University, home of the Billikens and the mighty Mississippi River. Aaron, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Well, I am currently a senior undergrad at St. Louis studying communication, journalism specifically, and American Studies. And I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio, so not much of a move for college, but I went to Ursuline Academy in Cincinnati, which is an all-girls Catholic high school.
Gotcha. Are you a big Reds fan or a Bengals fan by chance, Aaron?
No, my family's from Chicago, so I mostly gravitate towards those sport teams.
There you go.
She's a cubby lady.
There you go. Let's go to the University of Seattle. Celsi, how are you this morning? It's awful early out there.
Yeah, it's kind of 8:30, but still like early for someone who study and work from home.
Yes.
So yeah, my name is Celsi. I am originally from Jordan, from like in the Middle East. I did my high school, my undergrad in Jordan. So my undergrad was in the University of Jordan. Now I'm doing my master degree in transformational leadership at Seattle University. And I'm planning to do my PhD as well in organizational behavior next year.
Wow. Argan from Northeastern University. Argan, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Now, you're actually with Northeastern University, but let's just go ahead and tell folks you're on their Seattle campus. How does Seattle have a Northeastern University? It's kind of like a conflict of words, is it not? Seattle's far west, you're northeast.
Yeah, Northeastern. That's something special about the university, where you have campuses all over. You
Nice.
have a London, you have a Charlotte, North Carolina. They just opened Portland. There's one down in the Silicon Valley. There's one in Toronto, and then there's one in Seattle. They call them the industry embedded campuses, where you're bang in the middle of the city. You're bang in the middle of all the action that goes on. I'm actually studying. I'm in a master's program for project management. And that's my specialization is leading and managing technical projects. So my background really comes into play over here. It's tech industry. I go to classes in the middle, like it's just this one building in the middle of all these Amazon buildings.
Wow.
So it's a great opportunity to network. It's a great opportunity to meet new people, to just talk. There's an abundance of food trucks over here. So every time you go out, it's like, oh, hey, you do this at Amazon, you do that, and what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a student here. I'm looking for an internship. They're like, oh, great. My team wants this, my team wants that. And you're like, perfect. I don't even have to go onto the internet.
Cool. Let's go down to New Orleans, Louisiana, to Loyola University. Max Kopinski. Max, how you doing, my friend? Max, are you there?
Sorry, I had the mic on mute. How are you doing?
Doing good, boss. Doing good. Tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Loyola.
Hi, well, my name is Max Kopinski, and I am a senior. I'm currently 22 years old, and I'm taking my focus is in communications with a focus in visual communications. And yeah, that's about it.
Cool. Did our guests from Union University ever get on? Nope, they're not on. Our producer's shaking her head. So, Mark, let's just move along. If they pick up, we'll introduce them as we go on this podcast. And students from all over the country, Mark, what you got?
Yeah, well, let's go around the horn a little bit. I mean, the newspapers, mainstream education papers, everything are full of articles about, going back to university and all the crazy things that are going on. Maybe we start with Deep out in the great Northeast, the state of New Jersey. Deep, have you been in the U.S. the whole time, or did you go back to India and then come back? And, what's going on as you go into your PhD program? I assume the labs are open and you're going to try to get back to class in person, yes? Or what's happening there?
Oh, yeah. So since I'm over here in the United States since 2016, after my undergrad is done, and I have been over here only around New Jersey. So I didn't go back to my country since that time, and because I was busy with my research projects. So following onto that side, yeah, that's what I have onto that side of your question. But onto the side of our New Jersey thing, labs are like pretty tentatively open onto our university campuses, but they are very strict onto the part of the people who are coming in. They're keeping up the records of that stuff, and they're keeping a track record. And we have a daily signing forms coming up, showing up the burden on us, saying that, okay, you need to sign up every day, prove that okay, are you do you have any symptoms? Are you attending these places? Where did you go last 14 hours, 15 hours? Where were you? Were you in contact with people who has symptoms of COVID-19 or something like that?
Wow.
And that's a whole big procedure that we need to follow each single day if we want to enter the labs.
Are they taking the temperature and stuff when you go into the labs? And
no, it's we need to do it self. We need to do it and try to let them know about that if we have a high temperature or something like that. And if we have symptoms, they have strictly warned us not to even show up onto the campuses. And most probably in this upcoming 1 or 2 weeks, we would be getting more training onto this side, because I would be following with a teaching assistantship for the next semester for teaching labs for the undergrad students. So we have a training sessions that are being scheduled for us as a teachers over there. And apart from that thing, our university has developed a hyperflex model. That's a whole different scenario, how to teach into this scenario. Like, there would be 2 kind of classes for each and every course being provided at the university. They will be providing with like virtual and even onto the on-campus part, but there would be some limits onto the on-campus side of the students' participation. So that's what we have onto our side of university at Rowan, basically.
Wow. So Max, down in New Orleans got hit pretty hard. I guess New Jersey was also in the danger zone for a long time. What's going on at Loyola? And your situation's unique because Tulane University is right next door too. So you've got 2 big schools right there. Are the universities open for class, and are you actually going on campus, or what's happening in New Orleans?
So the universities are open for class. It's pretty deep waters that we're swimming in at the moment, to be quite honest with you. I think Tulane is taking more of an initiative. They're really trying to get students back into the scene of classes. And of course, the university doesn't want to see a downfall in university life as a business in general. But I think the same with Loyola. They don't want to see an empty campus. They want to see faces walking around. But I think that's where we're entering a dangerous point. And I think the schools really need to analyze what's going to go on, and they really need to make sure people that are coming to campus are COVID-19 free, so there won't be any issues. But as I can say right now, it's pretty uncertain what's going to happen in the next couple of months. But I think with the right ways of doing it, I think campus life can come back. But I think it's going to be very difficult right now during the times that we're in.
Yeah, it sounds it. Aaron, how about in Missouri? You guys have been spared, I guess, a little bit from this, or at least the national media has said the Midwest has not been hit as hard. What's the scene at St. Louis U? Are you back on campus?
Yeah, for the most part. Today is our 4th day of classes, so we just came back, and they had everyone who was going to live on campus do like a rapid test to see if they were positive or not. And then if you are positive, you move into like COVID housing. And then they had at the beginning of this week for people living off campus like me who were able to go get tested. So they're trying to test as many people as they can, and they're trying to trace obviously back to people who were around people who had COVID.
Yeah, it all sounds a bit scary. Salsa, you can certainly answer the question I've been asking everybody, but I wonder just, you personally, is it scary for you out there in Seattle and going on campus or just walking around the city, or how do you feel right now?
Actually, it's not really scaring in Seattle. Actually, people really respect the social distance very well. Like, we see everybody wearing masks and trying to be like 6 feet apart from each other, like everywhere I go, like on the street and the grocery. And maybe I only go to like big grocery, so there's like a space where people can be apart from each other. And but I think I'm not really scared in Seattle, because also the governor of the Washington is very like putting so much of strict rules, and we are kind of controlling the cases. For the campus, actually, Seattle University is a very small campus, very nice and intimate, and they really take care of the student. So we have a hyper model that we are going for in the fall, but for me personally, I will be on like online 100%, but other students who are in like science and they need to go to lab, they will be there. But in general, classes at Seattle University, they are very small classes. Like, I have been in class, I was like the second student. We're like only 2 students at the class. So, and sometimes maybe it could be bigger class for the undergrad, but it will not be more like 20%, like 20% in the class. And I think because of COVID, they are trying to make more classes, so less people will be in a one lab or one class. So they're really taking well precautions. To be honest, the support that I have been, receiving from the university, like all kind of support, actually, it's not only financially, but also very emotionally, and they keep posted out, like they keep updated us with the news. They talk to us and, and tell us about their value for caring for their student, especially in the time when, international students heard about that they may have to leave the country. They will not take in-person classes. So actually, they sent us so much of emails showing support and telling us that we'll do whatever it takes to, to help us to stay here. And actually, these things matter in this time. And actually, all these things that I feel like the university will take care of me, even I'm not really in campus because I'm living off campus, but still,
Right.
Like they're always keeping communicating with me all the time. So I feel good. And in general, like I feel good in Seattle because people really practicing social distance and really respecting that. So yeah.
That's really reassuring and wonderful news, actually, because the news media, paints such a bleak picture. Arjun, I'd be curious because I know your mom back in Calcutta quite well. I'll twist the question a little bit. You may not be fearful. If you are, it's okay, and we'd be happy to hear your side of it. But how's your mom feel all that distance away and not be able to be by her oldest son? I mean, is she quite concerned about you being out in Seattle and in the U.S. right now?
I don't know. I'd like to say my mom kind of raised an independent human being. Like she really like ever since I was a kid, it was you know, I'm not doing my job as a mom if you can't go out and live on your own, you know. So I mean, I came to America in 2014. I did my undergrad in Ohio, actually at Denison. It's a small private liberal arts college in this like really beautiful pocket 20 miles east of Columbus. I did physics and CS there, but that's besides the point. I mean, I traveled here alone. My mom's never been here to America. I haven't been home in 3 years. And yeah, I speak to her every day, every 2 days. And she trusts me. She trusts that I know that what's going on. I'm a man of science. She knows I respect the world of, I mean, even though I'm like physics and CS, I still know that, hey, Fauci knows what he's talking about, you know?
Yeah.
And if this thing is a killer virus, and the top scientists of the world are saying so, then there's good cause to be scared, and there's good cause to be fearful. You know, this isn't the world war. You're not going to get shot. You're just going to get debilitated, and you're going to be on a stretcher in some hospital where you're going to rack up the hospital bill and probably not make it through.
Especially in
right?
the U.S.
I know. So yeah, but I mean, Northeastern is doing some like we just talked about Seattle University. It's obviously there's different places. I don't even live downtown. I live across the water, actually, on the beach. And over here, it's very different, you know. We're kind of isolated from the city because of the bridge going down, and I mean, not going down, it's just out of commission now. So people really flock to West Seattle, you know, and it's just always crowded here. So it's tough to go out on runs. It's tough to go out and like be by the beach because there's a lot of people outside, you know. And even if you're wearing a mask or whatnot, there's good cause to be concerned. So my runs are now 5 a.m. runs or like 1 a.m. runs, and when there's not really anybody around. But as for Northeastern, I mean, it's the fun thing being a student at a regional campus is that you keep getting communication from the main campus, and then you get Seattle campus news, right? So I'm kind of tuned in with how Boston is going forward with everything. And I feel like Boston has been at the forefront of everything. I mean, they were part of that lawsuit with Harvard and MIT as well. And the first day the Boston campus reopened, they administered over 2,000 tests, and they're slowly reopening. And Seattle campus is a different story where you got to do the safe zone thing, and then you gotta record what you're doing, and they want to know. Kind of like the other places, you know, they want to know where you are, what you're doing, like if there has been any unusual contact out of your normal schedule. But the great part about it is that being at a small private liberal arts college, it was really easy for me to walk into anybody's office and say, hey, you got a couple minutes, right? And I was at Berkeley for my research during my undergraduate years, and it wasn't like that. And I imagine that it's not like that at Northeastern's main campus. But I kind of get the small college feeling here at the regional campus where an email is responded to within an hour. You know, you are not dealing with people who have a backlog of 20,000 students, right?
Yeah.
And it's really nice when you have pressing questions, and the majority of the student population here is international students, and the satellite campus is only grad students. So we don't even email. We have Teams, and you just really reach out on like IM. It's like you slacking someone, right? So they take care of us, and just because you're not at the main campus, I feel like you're treated a little more special because you're not at the main campus, you know?
Sounds like you're coping well. So Leo is from Prague originally, but is living in Philadelphia and I guess going to school in New Jersey. So you've got a lot going on, Leo. And from what I understand, before the show, you were telling us that you've been in the U.S. the whole time from the beginning of COVID all the way through. What's your current situation, Leo? How are you coping? What's going on at your university, and how are things going?
That's right, Mark. Thanks. Well, exactly as you said, I just moved to Philadelphia 2 days ago, so very recently, and it's been quite a chaos, to be honest, because I learned about the final decision of Drew University to go from hybrid mode to a 100% online mode just 5-6 days ago. And that's also the reason why I decided to cancel my room and board and move to Philly, because I didn't really see a big reason of staying on campus when there's going to be only about 150 students from the entire student body. And I think that it was a good decision, but I was really disappointed that we didn't start the hybrid mode, because I was really excited about it since I'm entering my senior year right now, and it is a crucial year for me. And I would definitely appreciate it if I could stay with my friends, with my professors and other students, and socialize and stay in touch and not have everything virtual.
Boy, Darren, they all sound pretty resilient. I think there's a lot of hope for the future with this group running things. What do you think?
No doubt about it. No doubt about it whatsoever, Mark. Let's just ask individuals here. And I'll start with ladies first. Aaron over in St. Louis. Aaron, do you prefer, the online classes or the in-person classes as far as education goes? And do you feel like that after this COVID situation is over, because of cost situations and other situations, some universities will offer more online than ever before? What's your thoughts on all that for students?
Well, personally, I think I prefer in-person classes just because I thrive more when I'm around people and find myself like not being able to focus when it's just online. So I would just rather be on campus and seeing people. But I think there are a lot of benefits that online classes have provided, and I think a lot of universities will be leaning towards that also in the future. So kind of the world that we've known has been like changed and turned upside down and started kind of anew.
Neat. Deep, as up in New Jersey, and you mentioned you were from India and you're working on your PhD and this sort of thing. What would you tell admission reps from around the country and admission personnel from different colleges and universities on how to recruit the students in India in particular that are even here in the States working on their bachelor's or even back home? How would you see that?
To my perspective, this is something interesting to know about that part. So to my perspective, it depends on what region of India you're focusing on. Basically, if it is the north side or the southern side of India, onto that side of the focus, or if it is the central one, there are the mentalities, the perspectives, the ideologies are different each region. So to my best way, it would be something that I would be recommending that if you're trying to do any more recruitments for the future part, the first thing comes into the trust. In our region and our kind of culture part comes the trust is a very priority part where you try to show them that how we take care of your kids. Because when they go out of their countries, they want somebody to take care of them like their own kids. Basically what happens is the culture there and back in our countries is like, okay, even if you are done with your undergrad, you are still staying with your parents. Even if you are married, you are still staying with your parents. So you have your parents on the top of your head always. So they are taking care of the house and all of that part. So when they send out their kids outside, so it might differ. But if you go to the south side a little bit. So they have a different thought process over to looking over that whole scenario where they think that, okay, let the kids be independent. So they try to make them more competitive, more independent onto that side. So it depends what area and what region you're focusing on to the India side. And it depends on what, like, is it like he's the only child of their parents, like me, or he has like 3-4 sisters and who has grown up in the military schools or such kind of schools, and would be a different perspective to looking over for the further recruitment that, hey, I'm comfortable with everything. So
Argan, Argan, do you reflect the same way Deep does? I mean, I know you said you were from India originally.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't believe that to be true. So I grew up in New Delhi, India. Big city kid. Moved to Gurgaon. I went to the Heritage School. We've been consistently ranked the #1 private school in India. And I think that it has more to do with demographic tracking, right? It has more to do with, are we catering to kids in metros, or are we catering to kids in smaller cities in in different states? Like it's like a comparison that you have about these different conversations I have with some of my mentors here in Seattle. It's like, hey, what are you going to go do in Boise, or what are you going to go do in Montana? Oh, it's a flyover state, like. So stuff like that. So people in different states of India, of course, will have different requirements for sending their kids outside. But when you're part of like a big city like Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, like even big cities down in the south, the trend is. You can't say that people in South India are more competitive. People up in North India are less competitive. It's an amalgamation of a lot of different factors and variables that you have on the table. Where what is the school that you go to? How cutthroat was it? And it also comes down to personal ambition too. So when you're looking at, and it also has like family values, right? Like for me personally, my mom wanted me to go abroad. My mom wanted me to study, and not because she wanted me to get a degree, get a good job, get married, come home. No, that's not what it was. My mom wanted me to go out and conquer the world. So so when a college approaches a prospective student, I think that some really important factors are like, I mean, obviously you have a profile on the students, right? I mean, I've talked to Mark on multiple occasions. I'm aware of how he does work, and so I know the colleges know who they're contacting as prospective students. So you really got to take a look at, this kid is from this school in this big city. This is what the trend is for the requirements for a student from this socioeconomic geographical background, right? Versus somebody from a different one. Yeah. And I think that it's a very dynamic metric for a college to pursue and keep polishing, so I'm not even going to be surprised when in the next 20 to 30 years, colleges are going to be competing for the best students in the world. It's going to be like scouting, right? And colleges are going to have to employ data scientists. Colleges are going to become tech industry almost evangelists, So, I mean, that's my take on it.
Celsi, how listening to what these two gentlemen have said, how does that correlate over into Jordan in the Middle East in particular?
So if we're talking about Jordan, so Jordan is a very small country. I think it's in the size of Indiana. We are like only 10 million population, and 4 millions are refugees from different countries, because Middle East, there's so many conflict there. To be honest, in Jordan, it's not really like a place where university like to go and recruit because in general, like it's a poor country, so people does not really make so much of money to send their kids, maybe only 1%. But this is something I really would like to comment on here and on that, because I came here on a scholarship. So, okay, sometimes we look at international student as a financial aid to the university and, like a really good income and business and all these stuff. But what university missing is they are actually unconsciously, they are structuring this higher education and a good quality education in a different country only for a certain group of people. And especially in the US, because the US is the destination for everybody to get a very good quality of education. And systematically, this education, good life, is going to a certain group of people, and it's happening around, like all around the world. This is something that I'm really against it. I'm hoping to see the university giving away more scholarships for people who are from the rural area, not from the big cities, for hoping to get people more who are not really went to a great high school where their English skills is great, Like, I really looking, because university, they are missing a wonderful student that they only need an opportunity to get in. And also, as a person who believes in justice and all these values of justice, maybe I'm talking from this perspective, maybe some people, they are not agreeing with me because this is the US, it's capitalism, everybody wants to make money, and like, I understand and know all about that. But still, I feel like there's someone who has to be there, making sure that we're not systematically giving the good opportunities and the good education for a certain group of people, and for, like, kids and family. We have to break the cycle. We have to give opportunities and look to the student, to the international student, in very different word, not as like a financial asset, but as a really good cultural asset for our university, for our diversity, and also to look to their assets as an asset for knowledge and learning and exploring the world. Because if we keep having those all rich people or like middle class people all together, we always will miss the other people, and always people will be in the margin. And as someone who's studying transformational leadership, my work is not to lift anybody behind, not to see anybody in the margin, and always bring the margin on the center. So I feel like through this show, it's something that I would like to say, like, we should look to the international student in very different way and different perspective.
Nice.
It's really well said. I wonder, Max and Leo. Max grew up in London and Leo in Prague, two iconic capital cities in Europe. Guys, what's your perspective on coming to the U.S. and that journey and studying with these different groups of students? A lot of Americans at some of your schools. I'd be curious about your reflections on that. Maybe Max first, and then Leo.
Yeah, sure. Well, the transition to the U.S. was very hard for me personally. It was a very lengthy process. When I moved to my small town in Madison, New Jersey, coming from a global city, the UK, Southwest London, it was a big shock for me. I mean, the whole climate of people and the differences, I guess, in everyday society really got to me. I mean, I grew up, just simple things, going to the shopkeeper, things like that, and just meeting people in this kind of connection. And when I moved to Madison, I really had a kind of disconnect experience, and that was really tough for me. I didn't really feel at home, and I didn't really feel like a lot of people had the same background as me, or I guess experiences, you could say. But my overall, I guess, transition to United States culture, I mean, both my parents are American, so it's not like I'm not used to American culture, but I think the movement for me was very, very different. And I think it took a lot in myself to kind of conform to the American culture. But I don't know, besides that, it's been a real growing point for me. And it's something that I'm still working on, and something that there's things that I miss in my past life growing up. But it just keeps going on. And I think having that international, global kind of acceptance, if you were say, or just knowledge of what's going on is really powerful. And it's really nice to look at how different cultures work and learn. And it's been something for me that has been really inspiring. So yeah, that's been my experience.
How about you, Leo? I mean, your path is from a similar part of the world. How have you found things?
Mark, that's a great question. So I can definitely relate to Mark's journey and to his transition from London to the US because there are a lot of similarities. I believe I didn't really have a chance to introduce myself at the beginning of the show, so I would like to take a minute just to do that and then answer your question. So like Mark said, I'm from Prague, Czech Republic, and I studied at a 8-year prestigious Anglo-American high school in Prague. Where they also taught us international IB program, which was one of the key reasons why I have been able not only to learn English at an early stage of my life, but also it really opened the gates for me to enter the international higher education market. And it was a dream for me since early childhood to study in the US. And the reason was not only the academic side of it, but it was also the sport athletic side of it, because USA is unique in a way compared to the rest of the world, because it's the only country where you can attend the university and simultaneously study and attend great programs and also play competitive sports. And at Division I and Division II level of NCAA, you can actually even earn pretty nice scholarships to fund your studies if that's necessary. So that was pretty much my aim and goal of coming to the US. And to answer your question, Mark, about the transition and how it looked like for me and what it gave me and what sacrifices I had to do. So I came to the US, to New Jersey, Madison, a small city close to New York International Airport in August 2017 to attend Rowan University, a small liberal arts college. It is. It could be compared to Denison College, where Arjun went for his bachelor's degree. I'm studying bachelor's degree there. I'm entering my final year, and I'm majoring in finance, economics, and double minoring in business and German. And at the beginning, it was a huge cultural shock for me. I have never been in the US prior to 2017. So it was an incredible experience for me, meeting all those people from all around the world. Different styles of living, different transportation. I pretty much struggled a lot because I didn't have access to a car, and in the US the public transportation is not nearly as good as in Europe and in my country. And coming from a small country that has 10 million people like Jordan, it's the size of New Jersey. It was really a huge shock because USA has over 300 million people, and there are people from all around the world. And I wasn't really used to that because in Czech Republic, it's not very common that there would be so many people from all parts of the world.
Boy, talk about crazy journeys, huh, Darren? I mean, we thought we were pretty smart. I don't know.
No doubt, Mark.
Humbling.
Let me ask our guests this, and the first one that wants to speak up is fine. You know, a lot of you talk about your home countries and the things that they offer in education and what they don't offer in education. Would it benefit U.S. students, do you think, to potentially get their bachelor's in a foreign country and get an education in how the world is seen outside the U.S.? Do our guests from other countries believe that would be a good thing? Somebody want to speak on that?
Yeah, I would like to speak on that.
Yes, go ahead.
So actually, I was intern at the International Student Center and working on the international student experience at Seattle University. And actually, one of the very important factor to enhance the international students experience in the US is the local students, you know. So the local student, usually they have a really narrow, you know, international experience and even narrow local experience. So I think it's very important for American as well to go and explore the world, because will change the dynamic of the US. And actually, when I moved to the US, I have noticed that all the news is about US, and it could be international news, but it has to be related to the US. And I have seen that, and I think, yes, American people have to go out and get really good education. There's many countries offering really good education. Maybe it's not Jordan, but I believe another European country, Australia, many countries in this world, they have top universities. And yes, as much as it's wonderful international student for me to be in the US, it will be very wonderful experience for American to be there and understanding the world and see different culture and come back to their country and enhance this diversity and inclusion. Because I have met many Americans who had, you know, like experience outside the US, and or, you know, they had like their degree outside the US, and their awareness, their international and global awareness is very, like, really beautifully shaped, and the way they bring it to their country and to their circles and to their people was really more enhancing the inclusion. Because we know, like, the US is a very diverse country, is very big, welcoming people from all around the world. So when American, let's say, if we're not have this experience and they understand it and they like to include the people, they will make the US a very beautiful, welcoming country if they want to make these efforts. Because I have noticed as well, like, you know, like, we are international students, we always make efforts to let them know about us. This is in my experience, I don't want to generalize anything, but like, we make so much of efforts to let them know about us. And like, sometimes we feel like we want you as well to make an effort to know us. So it's kind of mutual thing, and it's very important. It's very, very, very important, I see. And I hope to see more programs that, you know, enhance that, because we see the opposite. We see so many program inviting all the international students to the US, but I don't see the opposite. I don't see another program inviting American to go abroad, unless the exchange study that happen every year. But I think we should all do more, not only the Americans, everybody should do that more, because people has to meet each other in order to understand and thrive.
I want to go to the Midwest, Mark, and speak to Aaron over at St. Louis University again. Aaron, you're a communications and journalism major. You've already indicated your family's from Chicago. You went to high school in Cincinnati, and you're going to school right now in St. Louis. So you're at the core of these this great country we live in the United States of America. What's your overview and your thought on what our guests from Jordan and our guests from India and in Europe are saying in regards to students here in the United States, and then potentially students going out of the country? What's your thoughts?
Well, I completely agree with everything they are saying. My family is from Norway. Like, my grandma immigrated here after World War II. And I have a lot of family back in Norway. And one of my cousins, who's recently was going to be going into college, like, she had all of the same concerns about, like, going to school here and everything, because it can be especially scary in this situation with, like, everything going on. But I definitely would agree that it's important to be looking outward at, like, the global scheme of everything. Especially, I think we've learned a lot from this pandemic situation and how important that is.
No doubt. Mark, what you got?
Well, I'm curious, Aaron, not to pick on you, but St. Louis is one of those rare institutions that actually has a campus outside the United States. They, as you know, our listeners probably don't know this, but they have a full-fledged university campus in Madrid, Spain. Have you had a chance during your time at St. Louis to take advantage of that opportunity and study there, or Have you gone back to Norway or anywhere else since you've been at university?
Yeah, actually, I went abroad to the Madrid campus last spring, and I think that's one of the reasons that I wanted to study at SLU was because they really recommend, or like they kind of want to make it mandatory almost, that you have to study abroad, and it's like a really big like culture part here, and they make it like really easy and financially able for anyone to really like go abroad. So I was actually going to go abroad this past spring too, but obviously with COVID that didn't really happen. But yeah, the Madrid campus is great, and I also got to go see my family when I was there, so I had a lot of fun.
Nice. Mark, what you got?
Well, I'm just curious and maybe deep because he's so deep into it, no pun intended. Everybody's using deep now for, all kinds of things. Max is deep in a pool down in New Orleans, and you're always on the deep end, Aaron. But I'm just curious, career-wise, what this whole COVID last 6 months has done to career planning, and how do you see the future? I don't know if you're planning on getting your PhD and staying in the U.S. deep, or going back to India, or going somewhere else. But how much has this affected that long-term journey plan of yours? And we'll hear from Deep, and maybe a few others would like to talk about it too. I'd be curious to hear how much altering of plans are now being made because of this.
So that's really good that you asked me onto that part. So to my opinion onto this thing, before when I started with my master's, I had a plan into the side where like, okay, I'll do master's, I'll get a job, I'll do something like that, and then think on to the part where I can get an international job in Europe or in India, wherever it is possible. Because I belong to a business background, and I have a family who runs a construction business back in my country. So that's why I'm involved with business also, and to the part where I want to do some kind of internship and learn more as an international business kind of opportunity that I wanted to make as a future scope onto my side. But when I stepped into the PhD side, and now due to this COVID situation, the situation for whole world is like a little bit into the fuzzy side, and nobody has no scope or no decisions to take for the upcoming 1 or 2, 3 years. So I would try to shorten up my scope and say that, okay, this time I'll be focusing onto my PhD side, try to wrap it up as soon as possible. Because like for me, during this 6 months, it was really productive for me, because I'm onto the computational side. I'm onto the intelligence side of the transportation, where I'm just sitting behind a computer and just writing some codes and running all that part. But if it comes to the lab side, because I teach labs for the like construction material and geotechnical engineering side, so that is something where the people who were doing research onto that side, they were not able to progress even an inch because of the permissions and access to the labs and material and resources. All those funding has been stopped. So it depends basically what you are. So onto my scope, I had a good side where I got more time to work on my projects and everything, because it was computational most of the time. But sometimes it is like some of them are the field activities, because we are civil engineers, right? So some of those people had really difficult time. I hear from my friends and colleagues at the Rowan. They were not able to progress much. Some of them had to increase the deadlines of their defense. They had to push it back for more 6 months. So their minds are now not stable enough to go for PhD further, and they're confused what should they do now. So it depends. But for me, I'm planning to wrap up with my PhD first, and then try to see the scopes into the part of the world wherever I get a chance. Wherever the scopes are increasing, I might jump onto that thing and try to grab it. That's what my best call would be.
Yeah, it's complicated, isn't it? Leo, how about you? I mean, you're finishing your undergrad in finance and right in the shadows of Wall Street. I mean, what's the future hold for you?
That's right, Mark. Well, for the past years at Drew and in the US, I have been very fortunate to have multiple opportunities. You, Mark, and Salsibo, you were talking about SLU having Madrid campus in Spain. I have actually done a study abroad in Barcelona my freshman summer. year. And just 6 months ago, before the pandemic hit, I was doing an internship at Wall Street in the financial district of New York City, which definitely helped me a lot in terms of my development closer towards the financial career that I'm looking into. And this current situation has really changed a lot of my plans. So as of now, I'm actually having multiple scenarios of what to do next. My ideal plan before the pandemic started was to, right after graduation in May 2021, start my OPT, which stands for Optional Practical Training here in the US, work here legally for 1 year. And after that, ideally get a full-time job and get a sponsorship from some of the companies based in New York City or in New Jersey next to Hudson. But as of now, I'm actually switching to a plan B, and I'm looking to apply for graduate school for fall 2021 and start my studies. The programs that I'm mostly interested in right now are MBA focused on data analytics that would be STEM approved, so that I could do 3 years of OPT versus 1 year of OPT. And I'm also really seeing the shift in the world right now and the importance of technology that some of the students mentioned in the podcast before. So I'm really looking also into data science and into artificial intelligence. So I'm curious about pursuing a master's degree in this field as well. So I'm hoping that it's going to go well, and either my initial plan A or the plan B that I have right now is going to work out despite all the crazy things that are happening right now in the world.
Hey, Mark, we're getting close up to the clock. And before we close this out, I want to make sure our other students get to talk a little bit about what they're going to do after college and what they want to follow up with. But without hesitation, we've got to thank our sponsor again, Union University. Check them out, uu.edu, uu.edu. Union University, live, work, thrive in that setting in Jackson, Tennessee. Let's go back down to Northeastern University. Oregon, give me 30 seconds. Once you get your PhD or your graduate degree, you staying here in the States, you going back to India, you going somewhere else? What's your plans, my friend?
The plan is to pursue that dream job of mine, a technical program manager at one of the big tech companies. That's what I'm looking at. Work for 3-6 years, going for my PhD right after that,
Chelsea, what's your plans? Stay here, Jordan, Europe? What are you looking for?
I will be done with my degree this fall, so in November, because the Seattle University, we shift down the fall. So I'm planning to do 1 year of OPT and then start my PhD.
Nice. Max, what's your plans, my friend? You staying here in the States with us, or are you going back across the pond?
You know what? I might take a trip across the pond and see how it is. But for the 5 years, 10 years plus, I think I'm going to be in the United States. That's for sure.
And Aaron, are you going to go back to the land of beautiful people where your family is from in Norway? Or are you going to stay here in the Midwest? And what's your plans when you're through with the Billikens?
Well, I sincerely hope I get to see them soon because everything's so closed off right now. But I will probably end up going to Chicago and trying to find some job in journalism there.
Nice.
Well, we have a lot of need for good journalists, so I think you're going to get a job immediately, Aaron.
It's a fun business, communications and journalism. I can tell you firsthand what a fun business it is. Hey, guys, thank you all so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for joining us for the World Student Podcast. If you guys would just be so kind, we'll share this podcast with you once it's over and share it with your family and friends around the country looking for schools around the U.S. Mark, what's your overview? What's your thoughts as we close?
Well, these guys are so great. We got to have them back on. We need to do more student-focused shows with students. You listen to all of these podcasts and stuff on TV, and it's a bunch of administrators and, adults with a small a talking about this, that, and the other thing. I'd rather just sit back, throw some questions at young people and let them answer them. I think this is going to be a very popular podcast, Darren. We need to find another topic and get these guys back on.
There's no doubt. And maybe we can use some of our students to co-host and ask other students questions and all that kind of fun stuff. Aaron, you're a communications person. You up for it from time to time?
Oh, I'd totally do it.
All righty, awesome. Max, I know you're a communication and visual guy. You up for it sometime?
I got you covered.
Argan, you can talk to anybody. I've already figured that out. And me and you can have a fun political conversation if we were having a beer. And I'll look you
100%.
up. I'll look you up when I come to Graham to see my brother from time to time. But are you up for it if we ever call on you?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Celsi, I love the accent. I love you're just plain spoken. You up for it if we ever call you?
Actually, yes, and I have many ideas for something to talk about. Actually, I'm a researcher in resiliency, and I would like to talk about the resiliency of international students.
Awesome. Deep. You're probably the most, you and Argon, probably the most educated person at this time on this call. Smart guy, smart. I appreciate your input today. Can we call on you in the future?
Yeah, anytime. I would be really, it would be my biggest pleasure to be the part of you guys.
Thank you, guys. And Leo's my best buddy. He looked me up on LinkedIn. He likes everything I do, don't you, Leo? Tell the truth. You know, you don't like everything, but you like most of it.
Oh, boy. Tell the truth, Leo.
All right, Darian, you got it. I'm definitely in.
You know, it's like I always say, we have a lot of fun here on the World Student Podcast. For more information about the World Student Podcast, Mark, give them your contact so anybody that wants to find out anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world can find out about you.
Yeah, they can follow me on Twitter at Kopensky33. That's probably the best place to get me.
Kopensky33 at Gmail or AOL, or what is it?
Well, that's just, at Kopensky33 on Twitter. Come on, Darren, you got to get
go. I need to know this stuff. After I sit in the studio for an hour, I start getting shortwave. Anyway, it is what it is. Again, thank you to our sponsor, Union University. Thank you to all our guests. We'll be in touch. We'll send you an email with this podcast. Share it with your family and friends. And stay safe during this time. We're all in this together, whether we like it or not. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the World Student Podcast. For more information on how you can be a part of this podcast and information on international student recruitment, email us at worldstudentpodcast@gmail.com. And please leave a remark in the remarks section. This podcast was a production of BG Podcast Network. Jonathan Giles, producer. Jacob Sutherland, director.
Be creative, innovative, passionate. Be excellent, inspiring, driven. Be faithful, disciplined, prepared. At Union University, you will thrive in a Christ-centered community and be equipped for success in your life and career. Begin your journey today. At Union University, be transformed.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month, based on what you can afford to pay. 800-292-6156. 800-292-6156. 800-292-6156. 800-292-6156.